We have been born into a situation which is utterly sinful. And right here in Halifax this year, we are on the front lines of history. The future of the world rests directly upon what you and I do here.
One of my earliest memories when I was growing up, I want to say it was around 4 years old, is waking up in our house out Spryfield in my mother's arms and asking her who she was. She looked at me and said, "I'm your mother." Then my sister came out of her bedroom into the living room, visibly of a lighter complexion than myself and my mother, and I asked her who she was. Mom looked at me and said, "That's your sister." And my little brother, you look at him and you wouldn't be able to tell his mother and grandmother were black without really knowing. With my father being black, my siblings' fathers being white, it always reminded me to never judge a book by its cover.
I can remember going home, sitting on the grass over there with them at the public gardens. You could tell it was kids from the north end rather than down in the south end. People would look at us. They would look at us, especially when you have all these black kids and then could have been 5 white children in the center of them, and they would look at us and stand there and look, but we paid no attention. Children didn't pay no attention to it. They just look at it and stand there for a minute, then they walk on. I have seen people come and take pictures.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. I think it provided a lot of outlook and helped the young kids that went to that school of looking at life in a better way than what they would have if they didn't have that.
The Brunswick Cornwallis Pre-School began in 1963 as an interracial, interdenominational partnership between 2 neighboring churches in North End Halifax, Cornwallis Street Baptist Church and Brunswick Street United Church. The aim was to address the educational inequities for marginalized children in North End Halifax. The preschool philosophy was that racial equality was important for all. As a reflection of that belief, they implemented a 50-50 black and white mandate for staff, students, and board members.
Everything was equal. And if we had 6 white kids, we had 6 black kids. We had to have a black teacher and a white teacher. children learn how to get along and grow together.
It was like on the board with the staff and with the students, it had to be 50% black, 50% white. So they understood that in order to deal with the inequities in society, that they had to change the power structure of the organization. And I think that was pretty radical at the time, and is still. Like if organizations actually had that kind of policy in place, I think that like we'd live in a very different society.
And we would care and understand each other that much more.
And we taught them other things. I mean, they learned their ABCs and their numbers and tie their shoes and all that, but it wasn't a daycare. We did all of the stuff that you do in school.
And 600 children.
That's right.
Came through that school.
Yeah, and we did all kinds of things, you know, like up at the forum they used to have the, you know, remember when they used to have the animals and things there? We take the kids to stuff like that, and they did it. We did many outings as we could, you know. Hold hands, you know, because they were all small, you know, 4-year-olds. But it was great.
Wow. And what would you say is your most fondest memory of working there?
I think it was the kids, actually. I don't know, they're just a bunch of nice children. Children are, you know, most times children are really nice anyway. And, you know, some people don't know how to treat children, but it seemed like we knew how, and that's my fondest memory, really. Because there was one little girl that I would have even loved to adopt. I wanted her so bad. And I had 4 kids of my own, but I wanted her. Because she just had that little saucy way about her that, you know, she needed somebody. She really did.
Remember
that photo?
No, I don't. Not right now, you know.
But that's you, right?
Yes.
That's me.
That's you?
Yeah, we're in a photo together.
I got this phone call. Your mother got in touch with me. She asked me, was I Muriel? And I told her yes. She wanted to meet with me because she wanted to discuss something with a daycare.
And she asked you if you wanted to work at the preschool.
I told her yes, I would love to do that. It happens all so fast. It just seemed like we were doing that for years. We hardly knew one another. But we made friends quickly, really. I was quite surprised. That was really nice, how we got joined together like that. Because she knew I trusted her, and she trusted me.
As soon as they got into the school, it's just like they were knitted. You know, like they were knit together, and that you never heard call one out of their name or one other, never, not in my 20 years. And I really, 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 I couldn't get over it. I often said that the parents were the ones that kept the preschool open. I think it was a chance at that time for blacks and whites to get together, not even thinking about the other person's color. It wasn't that was my thing about the preschool. We never thought that there was no racism, none of that. The preschool opened the door for them to put a 4-year-old program in the school system. The most enjoyable thing that I found that I did was when I worked with the preschool children. Yeah, I enjoyed that more than anything. This is going to be just a short note from one of her parents. Dear committee members of Brunswick Cornwallis Preschool, I must tell you how humbled and appreciative I am to have received the Award of Excellence presented to me by the Black Culture Center. It was not only a very huge surprise, but also a truly memorable occasion. I must quote my oldest daughter, who accompanied me there to the event. Mom, we haven't seen you in a long time. So happy or to move so fast as when Betty called your name. And move I did. It was so amazing to be able to see and also to speak to many individuals I haven't had any contact with for many years. It certainly made my heart jump for joy. Congratulations to Anne and the committee for the many hours they have spent working on the documentary about the preschool. Bravo for sharing your findings and experiences, and may your future endeavors be an outstanding success.
Our moms were friends and both teachers, and they met at a community meeting, and I think it sort of snowballed from there. They discovered that they had daughters who were born 2 days apart, and so the moms got the kids together, and they also became deeper friends, which in the 60s was fairly unusual for black families and white families to be together as friends. We don't really think about it now, but in the 60s it wasn't that usual. So they started at a community meeting and got the families together, and I think that story just kept rolling. And the doors kept opening, and the end result was the preschool.
And also, Cheryl's parents were very involved in Cornwallis Street Church.
Oh, very much. The church was just a part of what we did.
And I think that there was recognition both from my parents and the Colemans, who had come from Harlem in New York, and they were very active in interracial community there. And so when they arrived, they were also trying to figure out how to help the children of their own community, but also how to bridge the gap between the white and black communities. And so my parents and the Colemans, they sort of had a shared vision, like for the preschool age. And so it actually became the first Head Start program in Canada, which is a little known fact.
I think from the letters and the documents that we have, I think your mom was appalled by the racism and just felt compelled to do something.
My mom died in 21, so it was during COVID. And so I asked her, and I was surprised that I had never asked her, like in all the years, like, how did the preschool start? And so what she said, is that we moved here in 61, and she was so depressed by the level of racism that she saw around. But that she eventually felt like she had to do something. So she approached Cornwallis Street Church. And so I know that like my father was the co-chair of the board, and Reverend Coleman was the chair of the board. So they were like, the four of them were really quite involved together to start the preschool.
And were you guys both students of the preschool?
I was, but Cheryl was too old.
I'm too old.
My family moved to Halifax in 1961, and my father was the minister at Brunswick Street United Church. So my understanding of the story is that my mother became very interested in trying to partner with Cornwallis Street Baptist Church to create the preschool. And so I think that the two churches were already kind of connected somehow. Both my parents and the Colemans, who were at Cornwallis Street, and they came in 62. So it was really that meeting of those four people that really kind of got the ball rolling.
And the wonderful thing is that your mom had the foresight to record things and to keep it. You know, we know from talking to the Black Cultural Center that Black stories are often not well documented. There just isn't the documentation to support it. So, you know, thanks to Anne's mom we have documentation for this story, which makes it easier to tell.
Yeah.
Shout out to the preschool. But when you did find out that people were still alive, like how did that make you feel?
It was just like, it was a very kind of emotional and exciting discovery. And, you know, I sort of feel like I've inherited another family, or and I feel that
More than one family.
with Heather's.
We were helping children to be able to deal with situations that may come in their life, whether they be black or white. For instance, for a black child, to be able to cope with someone looking at them as if they're different when they're not. And also a white child who has the same respect for a black child as they would want the black child to have for them. I just feel that they are better people for it, and I think they've taken it out into the community with them and has achieved greatly. I think our preschool was excellent.
I did go to a segregated school up in Windsor. I didn't go to school with any white kids. One-room school. And I still have a paper about when that school closed down. And they started putting the black and white kids together. So right up until I was 12, when I moved down here, I went to a segregated school with all one room, probably not even half as big as this room. So I think that was one of the reasons too, when she came and talked to me about the idea she had for the school. I think I went to going being black and not being around white kids, so I thought, I think I know how to do this.
Co-founder and director Catherine Vero once said in a 1966 speech, "No child suffers here from being the minority, and no child suffers here from being the majority." Over 600 children attended the preschool between 1963 and 1991. In its almost 30 years, it attracted the attention of high-profile educators and community leaders, like Dalhousie University and the Maritime School of Social Work. And so many women in the community who help shape how we see and view the world today. The preschool became Canada's first Head Start program and inspired Nova Scotia's Department of Education to implement a school program for 4-year-olds called 4+. All of this taking place while segregated schools were still very present in the province. The BCPS Teachers Group invited us to this event, honoring the important work all these women did, most of them mothers, and the men supporting them, to combat the impacts of systemic racism and poverty. It made me think about our school system today. How is it that we are going through our education system with no knowledge of local history and impactful moments that help shape our communities today? Why is it that I'm only finding out about the efforts of the Brunswick Cornwallis Preschool now? I think it shows how much we actually need this history.
Hi, Susie.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Sorry I didn't get back to you.
It's okay.
I've seen that you got some stuff working.
We got some stuff working. Actually, through like everybody knowing about this show, we've actually been invited here today. So I'm like,
These are stories captured.
Exactly.
1963. What a turbulent time in history the 60s were. The fight for equality in housing, education, and employment were at the forefront of everyday life in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and across our country. This city has always kind of punched above its weight class when it comes to making change and for setting the pace for the rest of the country. And it was no different when we talked about the creation of the preschool. But who would have ever conceived the idea of an interracial preschool in the center of Halifax at that time? Who could imagine that black and white folks would get together to discuss something that would be looked at as so radical then? Talk about being ahead of your time. Understanding that in 1963, it was the right time and the right place to make it happen. That's what we're here to celebrate and acknowledge today.
I'm just going to add a little quote that came from Catherine Merrill, who was one of the co-founders of the preschool. In 1962, Reverend and Mrs. Charles Coleman came to Cornwallis Street Baptist Church, the Negro church around the corner from our church. We found that our dreams and our attitudes were much the same. A preschool for 4-year-old children was too big a project for one church to tackle alone. But if we worked together, it would not only be possible, but far more effective. Now we're at the part of the program that we are going to honor individuals, teachers, prominent board members that were a huge part of the preschool. Meredith Downey, Myra Bailey, Iona Skates, Heather Coles,
Well, I'd like to see them go through the same thing. I'd like to see them get along. I don't think there should be any bullying, any name calling, or any of that. They treated us like that, but they did, and now it's over and life is new. Okay?
The philosophy really was that racism hurt everyone, not just the minorities. It hurt white people too.
So my mother, she did a lot of writing. She left a lot of notes, articles, letters, and I found that in one of her little journals. So I like to imagine that that's something that she wrote down to say at something about the start of the preschool. And it feels like those words are very relevant today too. We have been born into a situation which is utterly sinful. And right here in Halifax this year, we are on the front lines of history. The future of the world rests directly upon what you and I do here.
You may ask me how I know my Lord is real. You may doubt the things I say and doubt the way I feel, but I know He's real today. He'll always be. I can feel His hand in mine, and that's enough for me.